10 years in the making. 10 years in the making as the story sat in a box, untouched. As it sat untouched in that box, it was in a world of its own, marinating. And as it marinated, just still in its own space, living within the words written upon pages that were bursting with eagerness to expand outside of the container it was in. So in that span of time of 10 years, that energy reached someone who was on the other side of yes. Someone who would say yes to that story. Someone who would breathe life into the story. The story itself didn't need a breath of life because it was already living. But the breath of life that it did need, being in this world, in this realm of things, financing, it needed the platform, the exposure, the magnitude of organization it would take to bring this story to life, even though it had already lived its own existence in a container for 10 years, unseen, unheard, but living. Living on the four corners of pages written 10 years earlier, prior, when the writer felt like giving up. The writer felt like it was the end, but because the writer had a small piece of hope and faith and belief, 10 years later, courage was mustered up. Courage was stood on. Courage overwhelmed the being of that writer because change was inevitable. Change was upon the presence of this living being who had a story that was aching to be told, aching to be etched in the space and time of other great stories told, of other great stories that are revisited time and time again through the delivery systems of distribution, where people can view those stories as often as they would like. Spans across many states, across waters, across satellites, across time and space, cable lines and internet lines, and wherever distribution systems exist for people to receive the media of storytelling via movies, TV shows, subscription services, cable network, free television. But this story will be one of the greatest stories told. One of the greatest stories witnessed. One of the greatest stories that waited its time. One of the greatest stories from the first letter to the last letter when that rotor, when that writer wrote that story 10 years earlier, edged on hope, edged on periodic vision, edged on imagination, edged on faded dreams, edged on the loop in the background, edged on reminders when a friend said, "Hey, whatever happened to that story that you wrote?" Edged on when the writer's mother asked, "Why did you give up on writing? You were such a great writer." Edged on when the father said, "Son, you only live once. Baby," meaning a daughter, because you know how fathers are with their daughters. "Baby, you only live once. Put your story out in the world. Figure out a way to make it come to life. Figure out a way for you to exhibit your efforts." When that coworker said, "Hey, I thought you were a writer. What happened to your dreams of writing? Like, I haven't heard anything from you in a long time. Like, I know you don't want to stay in this boring existence. I mean, we do get paid well. I mean, I know I make great money, and I know you do too with the position that you hold. But hey, like, I mean, if I had aspirations like you, I guess I would try it too. But are you still writing? Do you still write? Are you still a writer? Is that still your dream, your aspiration?" I mean, I guess you're still here with me, so, you know, maybe that answers it. But please forgive me for saying anything out of line that doesn't align with your goal and dream. I mean, because I wasn't trying to be offensive. I was just saying, I'm just asking. And that's how it goes. But one day we'll wake up and some things that we have within our minds, in our being, in the eternal existence of our souls, the things that drive us, the things that make us, the things that break us, the things that we have shed tears over, the things that we dwell in our mental acuity and toil but that's the existence of being. That's what it is. We give up on so many things, even ourselves. And when I think of that, when I think to myself, when I'm in my personal dwelling and I sit with myself and I ponder on these things to myself as I talk to myself and answer myself and situate myself and actuate myself upon contingencies of things that I've always wanted to pursue and have pursued. And those things that I pursued came to fruition, but at the scale unsatisfactory. It was unsatisfying. The scale at which the fruition came about was unsatisfying. But the theme is, when you do, it gets done. And as it gets done, the doing gets the getting. Now, what scale, to what degree, what's involved, how it happens, what stops you, what keeps you going, I don't know. But by me saying I don't know, it's just a figure of speech. It doesn't really mean I don't know. It's that I do know, but I don't want to talk about it. I don't want to think about it. I don't want to have to put in the mental fortitude or the physical prowess and the combination of the two that's needed in order to proceed into the future of what is unknown. And what is unknown you know it. You know it, but you just don't know it. It's like, I know what I know, but I don't know what I think I know until I know it. And then when I know it, I still don't know because there's so much unknowing to know. The catalyst of it all. How I bring things to my mental awareness and exert and extract and exact these things within my mental space of being. And how I bring that to be. The smallest things can turn into the biggest things. And the biggest things can be diminished into nothing. Into the nothingness of it all.